In 14th century Europe, jousting has risen to become the favorite sport of the era, thrilling both nobles and commoners alike, though only knights are permitted to compete. One day, three squires, William, Roland, and What, discover that their master, Sir Ector, has died after receiving a few heavy blows during a joust. This puts them in a dire situation. Not only are they now unemployed, but they haven't eaten in days and desperately need money. Since the tournament officials haven't yet realized Sir Ector has passed, William comes up with a risky plan. He'll disguise himself as Ector and finish the match. It's a chance for him to live his dream of becoming a knight, especially since he spent years helping Ector train and knows the ins and outs of jousting. As long as he keeps his helmet on, no one should be able to tell the difference. Roland is skeptical at first, but both he and What eventually agree to help and see where it leads. During the match, William shocks the crowd with a flawless performance, securing a golden feather as the prize. Later, they sell the feather and evenly split the earnings. But William has a different vision. He takes the money back, leaving Roland and What with only one coin each. His idea? Reinvest the money into better gear so they can continue the ruse and become champions. Roland and What are furious. They even fight him for their share, but William refuses to back down. Eventually, he appeals to their better nature, convincing them to support his ambition. With the new gear purchased, the group trains hard for the next competition. William practices relentlessly until he's able to strike without fail. A month later, they're traveling to a new tournament when they come across a naked man on the road. It's Geoffrey Chaucer, the famous writer, who's been robbed and left with nothing. William introduces himself under the alias Sir Ulrich, but Chaucer instantly realizes he's not actually of noble birth. Still, he offers a deal. If they give him some food and clothing, he'll forge documents proving William's nobility so he can enter the tournament. Though wary of trusting a stranger, they accept the deal. What makes it clear that betrayal will have consequences. When they reach the tournament grounds, they're relieved to find Chaucer's forgery passes inspection. William officially enters the competition and, impressed with Chaucer's flair for words, hires him as his personal herald. While waiting for his first match, William spots a beautiful woman in the crowd, Lady Jocelyn, and is smitten. He follows her through town hoping to learn her name, but she refuses to tell him. He even tries to follow her into a church while still on horseback and ends up being thrown out. Still, William goes on to win his opening joust with ease, though he starts to worry about the durability of his armor. Before he can relax, he's approached by some local gambling enforcers who demand he settle a debt. Apparently, his new employee has run up a tab he's now expected to pay. It turns out Geoffrey hadn't been robbed after all. He actually suffers from a severe gambling addiction. He's in serious trouble, and unless someone covers his debt, he's facing deadly consequences. Despite Watt's outrage, William steps in and tells the collectors to release Geoffrey, promising that he'll pay what's owed once he wins the tournament. Soon after, William signs up for the sword fighting competition as well, which he dominates. His victories give Geoffrey the chance to hype up his reputation in front of the crowd, using his flair for dramatic storytelling and clever exaggeration. With Geoffrey's help, William starts to gain fame. After taking the sword title, William returns to jousting and continues to win. However, the repeated hits begin to damage his armor, and when he tries to get it repaired, no blacksmith will take an IOU. Even Kate, a skilled blacksmith, refuses at first. But William has overheard how other blacksmiths dismiss her for being a woman, so he persuades her by implying they think she isn't capable. Kate, fueled by pride and determination, agrees to repair the armor. Meanwhile, in the stands, Lady Jocelyn watches the matches with her lady-in-waiting, Christiana. They're approached by Count Edhemer, the reigning jousting champion and a man interested in courting Jocelyn. He brags about his military campaigns in France and the fact that no one has ever knocked him from his horse. To impress her further, he explains the rules of jousting, how different kinds of strikes award different points. Their conversation is interrupted when William arrives, eager to charm Jocelyn with poetry Geoffrey had just taught him. Unfortunately, Edhemer mocks William in front of everyone, forcing him to retreat humiliated. Before William's next match, Geoffrey gives him an extravagant introduction, spinning tales of noble deeds and great victories that never happened. William's jousting is impressive as always, but Edhemer critiques his form, telling Jocelyn that although William lacks finesse, the fact that he doesn't protect his face makes him appear fearless. In the match, William's opponent is clearly injured and knows he can't win, but asks to finish the bout for the sake of his dignity. Moved by the request, William agrees, and the two deliberately end in a draw. The opponent gracefully withdraws, and William advances to the next round. Edhemer sees William's act of mercy as weakness, but Jocelyn views it as noble and honorable. Later that evening, Edhemer sends Jocelyn a message declaring that he'll win the tournament for her. She's unmoved. She knows his victories are for his own pride, and she resents how he expects women to remain quiet and submissive. She finds herself more intrigued by William, who is the only knight that hasn't made bold promises in her name. Maybe, she muses, he's the one truly worth her heart. The next day, Jocelyn sends her pashmina to William as a token of luck. She even allows Christiana to finally tell him her name. With renewed motivation, William steps into the final match against none other than Edhemer. At first, William takes the lead in points, but Edhemer soon exploits William's open face and strikes him directly on the head, knocking him out cold. Still unconscious, William drifts into childhood memories, sitting on a fence, watching armored knights thunder past, wishing with all his heart to join their ranks. Most villagers told him such dreams were folly for a peasant, yet his father, John, urged him to believe otherwise. When William finally stirs, he sees Edhemer retrieving Jocelyn's pashmina. Before handing it over, Edhemer tells William to seek him again after he's properly trained. Though William lost the joust, he did claim first prize in the sword event, giving him enough coin to settle Geoffrey's gambling debt and pay Kate for her work. Kate then mentions that William's armor was never fitted for him and offers to craft a custom set, on one condition. They must take her along to Paris. William initially refuses, eager to move on. Just then, Christiana arrives to confirm his attendance at that evening's banquet. Jocelyn plans to match her gown to his colors. William's resolve to depart evaporates. He declares he'll wear green, and the team springs into action. Roland readies appropriate clothing while Geoffrey attempts to teach William the finer points of courtly dance. The lessons go poorly, tempers flare, and Kate walks in on the confusion. William apologizes for his earlier dismissal and persuades her to teach them properly. Thanks to her guidance, William is ready for the banquet. That night, he converses with Jocelyn, weaving more of Geoffrey's poetry into their talk. Edhemer tries to shame him, suggesting William can only manage rustic village dances. William responds by leading Jocelyn in a lively routine that earns cheers from the hall, leaving Edhemer seething. By morning, Kate has completed William's new armor, emblazoned with her personal mark. William doubts its durability. It feels far too light. Kate explains she has perfected a special reheating method that thins the metal without sacrificing strength. To prove it, the men test a full force blow. William barely feels the impact, and the group is astonished. A week later, William dons that sleek armor at another tourney. Spectators chuckle at how slim the plates look, but he silences them with an effortless first-round victory. Jocelyn watches proudly, while Edhemer, also entered, withdraws after learning his scheduled opponent is Prince Edward in disguise. Geoffrey advises William to do the same. Crossing a royal could be dangerous, yet William notices the prince's disappointment and chooses to face him. Between passes, William quietly tells Edward he recognizes him. The prince, impressed that William still chose to compete, finishes the bout with respect. William wins the overall tournament, yet he's sour he didn't defeat Edhemer directly. When Jocelyn approaches to invite him to the next banquet, he snaps in frustration. Hurt, she leaves, thinking him a fool. Still unconscious, William drifts into childhood memories, sitting on a fence, watching armored knights thunder past, wishing with all his heart to join their ranks. Most villagers told him such dreams were folly for a peasant, yet his father, John, urged him to believe otherwise. When William finally stirs, he sees Edhemer retrieving Jocelyn's pashmina. Before handing it over, Edhemer tells William to seek him again after he's properly trained. Though William lost the joust, he did claim first prize in the sword event, giving him enough coin to settle Geoffrey's gambling debt and pay Kate for her work. Kate then mentions that William's armor was never fitted for him and offers to craft a custom set, on one condition. They must take her along to Paris. William initially refuses, eager to move on. Just then, Christiana arrives to confirm his attendance at that evening's banquet. Jocelyn plans to match her gown to his colors. William's resolve to depart evaporates. He declares he'll wear green, and the team springs into action. Roland readies appropriate clothing while Jeffrey attempts to teach William the finer points of courtly dance. The lessons go poorly, tempers flare, and Kate walks in on the confusion. William apologizes for his earlier dismissal and persuades her to teach them properly. Thanks to her guidance, William is ready for the banquet. That night, he converses with Jocelyn, weaving more of Jeffrey's poetry into their talk. Edhemer tries to shame him, suggesting William can only manage rustic village dances. William responds by leading Jocelyn in a lively routine that earns cheers from the hall, leaving Edhemer seething. By morning, Kate has completed William's new armor, emblazoned with her personal mark. William doubts its durability. It feels far too light. Kate explains she has perfected a special reheating method that thins the metal without sacrificing strength. To prove it, the men test a full-force blow. William barely feels the impact, and the group is astonished. A week later, William dons that sleek armor at another tourney. Spectators chuckle at how slim the plates look, but he silences them with an effortless first-round victory. Jocelyn watches proudly, while Edhemer, also entered, withdraws after learning his scheduled opponent is Prince Edward in disguise. Jeffrey advises William to do the same. Crossing a royal could be dangerous. Yet William notices the prince's disappointment and chooses to face him. Between passes, William quietly tells Edward he recognizes him. The prince, impressed that William still chose to compete, finishes the bout with respect. William wins the overall tournament, yet he's sour he didn't defeat Edhemer directly. When Jocelyn approaches to invite him to the next banquet, he snaps in frustration. Hurt, she leaves, thinking him a fool. Over the next several weeks, William competes in tournament after tournament, collecting victory after victory. Each time, he hopes to face Edhemer, but the count has been called away to the Battle of Poitiers. Even on the battlefield, Edhemer demands tournament updates, seething as news arrives that William has won yet again. Nearly a month passes without any sign of Jocelyn, and William decides to write her a letter. Words, however, are not his strong suit, so Jeffrey steps in, weaving his own poetic flair together with memories of the team's first loves. What delivers the letter, and Jocelyn is moved to tears by its heartfelt prose. What returns with her reply? She will come to Paris to watch William joust, and, in her note, sends him a light kiss upon the lips for luck. With Edhemer absent from this next event, Jeffrey proposes they place bets on William's inevitable victory. Before the tournament, William meets Jocelyn in a church. She expects more of the beautiful verse that touched her, but William lapses into the familiar knightly vow to win for her honor. Disappointed by the cliché, Jocelyn challenges him. If he truly loves her, he must lose the tournament in her name. Offended, William storms out, but when the matches begin, he deliberately lets his opponent score. His friends are beside themselves. What rages about the lost wagers? And Roland fears William will be maimed, but William refuses to budge. Midway through the bouts, Jocelyn finally understands the sincerity of his sacrifice. She sends Christiana to relay a new message. Now she wishes him to win. Reinvigorated, William charges through the remainder of the contest and claims the championship, earning Jeffrey a hefty purse from his bets. That night, Jocelyn visits William's tent while he rests, battered from the earlier rounds. She reveals she overheard his real name and assures him she doesn't care about his station. Their evening ends with them together at last. A few days later, the group heads to London for the World Championship. Most of them have been gone only a year or two, but William hasn't set foot in the city for 12. He vividly recalls the day his father, John, handed him over to Sir Ector, believing a squire's life would offer his son a future. William had worried he might never find his way home again. Yet John promised, just follow your feet. At the opening parade, William rides with the other knights, bathing in the roar of the crowd. He spots wide-eyed children shouting his name and sees his younger self reflected in their excitement. Naturally, Jocelyn has come to London to watch William compete, and Count Edhemer finally reappears in the tournament circuit. He wastes no time making his intentions clear. He plans to defeat William without mercy and marry Jocelyn, boasting that he's already started formal talks with her father. After breezing through the first day's matches, William decides to visit his old neighborhood. With help from a young admirer, he tracks down his childhood home and finds his father, John, who is now blind. At first, William introduces himself under his alias, Sir Ulrich, pretending to deliver a message from William. But John quickly recognizes his son's voice and is overcome with emotion. The two embrace and spend the evening catching up over drinks, unaware that Edhemer has been secretly following William and now knows the truth. The next morning, just as William is preparing for the final match, Jocelyn and Geoffrey arrive with alarming news. Edhemer has informed the authorities of William's true identity. A dozen royal guards wait outside the arena, ready to arrest him in public. His friends plead with him to run, and even Jocelyn insists she'd give up everything to live quietly by his side. But William refuses to sacrifice his dignity. With his head held high and his companions surrounding him, he walks straight into the tournament grounds. As expected, the guards seize him on the spot and throw him in prison. Edhemer visits him there, gloating cruelly as he lands blows and mocks William's fall from grace. Later, William is dragged to the square and chained to the guillotine, where an angry crowd pelts him and his friends with rotten vegetables. Just as the situation threatens to turn violent, a voice cuts through the chaos. Prince Edward steps forward. He speaks to the crowd, praising William's courage and sense of honor. Then, to everyone's shock, he announces that his royal scholars have traced William's lineage to an ancient noble house. Edward knights him on the spot, granting him the title of Sir William. With his name cleared, William returns to the tournament, now under the watchful eye of the prince and princess. But Jocelyn is nowhere to be seen. In the final round, he must face Edhemer, who shows just how far he's willing to go to win. Using a lance with a hidden sharp point, Edhemer lands a brutal hit to William's shoulder in the opening run. The injury leaves William struggling to hold his lance, giving Edhemer an easy lead in points. Edhemer continues to sneer and taunt William, confident that victory is already his. But William's hope is reignited when he spots Jocelyn arriving, with none other than his father, John, by her side. The sight of them strengthens his resolve. Struggling to breathe in his armor due to his injury, William makes a bold decision. He removes his chest plate, choosing mobility over protection. Then, he has what's strapped the lance tightly to his injured arm. As the final run approaches, Geoffrey suddenly realizes he hasn't given his signature introduction. Seizing the moment, he steps forward to rally the crowd with one last rousing speech, declaring that today, a man of humble birth will triumph over nobility. With Edhemer in the lead by points, William's only shot at victory is the most difficult feat in jousting, unhorsing his opponent. Gritting his teeth and calling out his true name for all to hear, William charges forward. His lance finds its mark, knocking Edhemer clean off his horse and into the dirt. The crowd erupts in thunderous applause. William has won the world championship. Tears well up in John's blind eyes, and Jocelyn rushes to William, meeting him in the center of the arena for a victorious embrace and a passionate kiss. As the arena fills with celebration, Geoffrey smiles to himself, already crafting the tale of William's incredible journey, a story he'll later include as the first entry in his Canterbury Tales.